Today. We we asked you to join us to give you updates on the case of the little girl who was abducted on during the late night hours of May 7th, discovered on May 8th. We we have a suspect in custody, and we're asking for the press help in getting his face out there and his vehicle. I'll give you a little bit of the chronology before I introduce Detective Roberta Hopewell, who's been the primary investigator on this, and she'll be able to answer specific questions that you have. But essentially, as you know, on May 8th, we were notified of a child abduction. Immediately, the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse Unit of the Riverside Police Department responded. As a result of that response, we discovered witnesses and some videotape evidence that led us to examine a number of different potential suspects. One of the people that was identified potentially and who was located on May 9 is Jose Wilson Rojas Guzman, a 30-year-old man. And by way of a physical description, Mr. Rojas Guzman is a male Hispanic, about 5'6", 140 pounds. He's 30 years of age. Mr. Rojas Guzman is an ex-roommate of the child's mother. We contacted him on May 9. He was uncooperative to the point of refusing to disclose where he lived. During the course of our examination of Mr. Rojas Guzman, it was discovered that he was in our country illegally. And so he was placed in the custody of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And he's been held at a facility, a Santa Ana police facility, which is contracted out by ICE. From that point on, a number of investigative steps were taken, including the recovery of DNA evidence, recovery of the crime scene from the child, and from Mr. Guzman pursuant to a search warrant. We just yesterday we received a confirmed hit that the DNA recovered from the crime scene is a match to Mr. Guzman's. We were aided tremendously in this effort by the San Bernardino County Crime Lab, as well as the California Department of Justice, the Riverside branch of the California Department of Justice, in terms of processing both DNA and fingerprint evidence. We believe, well, Mr. Guzman was arrested and booked last night into the Riverside County Jail for violations of sections 664-187 of the California Penal Code, attempt murder, section 209 of the California Penal Code, kidnapping with injury, and section 269 of the California Penal Code, aggravated child sexual assault. Each of these charges has a potential life sentence. The Riverside County District Attorney's Office is also contemplating potentially additional charges. Mr. Guzman is being held on $1 million bail, and on top of that, there's an immigration hold on him. Again, we are very interested in finding out where Mr. Guzman has been living. We think that examination of that location may yield additional evidence. We're also interested in hearing from people who may know of some prior crimes committed by this gentleman, potentially some unreported crimes. We're joined today, by the way, by representatives of a number of agencies that have been very helpful. Don Roberts is a supervising special agent for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He's in charge of the Inland Regional Apprehension Team, the IRAT team. Mr. Roberts, immediately upon our initiation of this investigation, Mr. Roberts put the resources of the FBI and specifically the IRAT team at our disposal. That team was very helpful in developing information which we subsequently were able to work further to identify positively Mr. Guzman and lead us to his vehicle. Again, on May 9, 2 Riverside Police Department sergeants located Mr. Guzman, and that's where our contact with him began. Mr. Roberts, if you please, if you'd come up. Again, we're very grateful to Mr. Roberts and to the FBI. Some of you may recall that the IRAT team was also the investigative team responsible for locating and arresting Mr. Green, who's the person whom we believe killed our officer Ryan Bonaminio back in November. So they're a great partner for us, and we truly appreciate their help. Again, I want to make notice once again of the assistance of the San Bernardino Crime Lab, which also was key in solving the Bonaminio case. I also have with me and available to the press, representing the District Attorney's Office of the County of Riverside, Chief Deputy Mike Soccio, Mike Soccio, S-O-C-C-I-O, and Deputy District Attorney Mike Carney, C-A-R-N-E-Y. With that, I'll ask Detective Hopewell to come up, and we'll take any questions that you have.
Can you tell us where we think this suspect may have been living, and where was he apprehended? Where did you find him if he didn't live at the Pike Street address any longer?
He was found at Tyler Street and Magnolia Avenue, right down the street, during the day.
Driving around? We don't know
He
where.
was in the parking lot, and 2 of our sergeants were in the parking lot, and they observed him in his vehicle and detained him for us. No, they were over across the street by the House of Pancakes, I believe.
Were you focused on him from the start? Were you focused on him from the start? It appears you might have been since you were speaking with him the following day, right?
I didn't focus on him in particular. The team was actually looking at everybody who was acquainted with the family, and also strangers. We had the SAFE team working on 290 registrants in the area.
You spoke to the little girl. Did she ID him?
Not at this time, no. She still is telling me that she doesn't remember.
Was what led you to him the fact that he was an acquaintance or used to be the roommate, and that was why you went and talked to him, or was there a match on the vehicle from that surveillance video? Yeah.
It was a culmination of a lot of little things that we started discovering, but he wasn't so much a roommate as he just rented a room from the victim's mother. He was unfamiliar to them when he moved into the house. He was renting a spot from them. And as we started speaking with a lot of people, a lot of neighbors, very, very helpful with the residents of Riverside, everybody that we spoke to, just kind of started leading that way, but at the same time, we kept our options open with everybody else that we were in contact with.
How long ago did he rent the room from the mom?
In January, first portion of January of this year.
And how long had he lived there?
He was there about 2 months.
Does it look like this was somewhat of a crime of opportunity, and that he knew from being there that there was a girl in that room, and he kind of targeted the family for that specific reason?
That is something that we've been looking into, yes.
I mean, he knew the mother's work schedule. I mean, one thing you would know that she would work late, that they'd be home alone, right?
It's possible, yes.
Any indication he had acted inappropriately with this 9-year-old girl prior to this?
I haven't found any yet, no.
And
Was
did
the mom of any help with information regarding this incident? And are there going to be any sort of charges on her? I know that was a question early on since she wasn't home and all that kind of stuff.
We're not looking at any charges with the mom at this time. She was helpful with all the information that she had about Mr. Guzman when we spoke with her.
And I know you guys probably can't get too much emotive, but does it look like this was some sort of revenge thing against the mom for anything? Or this could have been any neighbor, could have been anyone, could have been anybody in that neighborhood who he happened to have information on?
We're looking into that. I can't comment on that right now.
Does this guy have any criminal history, or was he totally off the grid?
Mr. Guzman had no criminal history that we've been able to find, and no positive identification until we contacted him.
Are you able to talk about the girl's injuries at this time?
No, just that she was assaulted, and she was in the hospital for several days, and she's at home now.
Can you tell whether she actually escaped from him, or did he in fact let her go?
From the indications that we have, the people that we've spoken to, it appears that she was left by the gentleman.
Could you give a sequence of what happened, how the crime occurred?
It occurred, we think approximately, I think, a little after 11 o'clock in the evening, and she was found right before 1 o'clock in the morning.
I broke through a window and...
Yes.
And was she assaulted in a truck or somewhere else?
I don't know at this time.
Did he admit assaulting her?
Mr. Guzman made no statement to us when we arrested him.
How long has he been in the country? Do you know?
Mr. Guzman told me about 8 years.
You know his country of origin?
Mexico.
Can you give us a sense of the relief in the department right now, and that the neighbors in the area should feel now that you have a suspect in custody on this case?
Well, of course, we're very, very happy that we do have somebody in custody, and that now hopefully the victim will feel much safer, and the neighborhood will feel much safer.
Do you feel like this was an isolated incident? You don't think he might be responsible for other crimes?
I don't know at this time. We're looking into all possibilities.
Chief mentioned more information. What would you like to, what information are you looking for?
I'm actually looking to see if anybody knows Mr. Guzman, knows his whereabouts, say in the last year or so, and where he was recently living, and the area that he frequents.
Is that because you're looking at possible other cases?
It's because I'm actually trying to ascertain where he lived, because at this point I don't know where he was staying at the time that I had him arrested.
You know how he made a living?
He was unemployed, as far as I know.
Did you guys want to arrest him when you found his vehicle there? Or was it just you happened upon the truck for something else and he was taken into custody and you later knew he was the man?
I wanted to speak with the gentleman that was associated with that truck, and when the truck was found and Mr. Guzman with him, I spoke to him voluntarily at that time.
That was before his arrest, right? That was right after the report came in?
That is correct, sir.
So you had linked him with the truck, and put a green truck right afterwards?
I linked him with a pickup truck, a dark-colored pickup truck at that time that we had detained him.
And that was all from the surveillance video that you guys had?
Partial of, yes. We had additional information, but the surveillance video was very, very helpful
Can you give us
in
a
the
sense,
vehicle.
after the last press conference, the last time we were out here, was he on your radar at that point? And how many tips did you get into the public after the last press conference?
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Guzman, has been somebody that we knew about from the very beginning because we had spoken to Mom, but he was one of many people that of her acquaintances.
And then, did you get a lot of tips in?
I got several, actually, and I got some very helpful ones, some that we actually got very good, useful information from.
Were they neighbors, people in the neighborhood, or just?
Yes.
You had said earlier there were no witnesses at all on one. Has that changed, or there still were no witnesses to?
Have no actual eyewitness to the crime.
Where did the video come from?
From the neighborhood. There was a surveillance camera in the neighborhood,
Which neighborhood?
Taken from, or done?
in the where she was left at.
It's just like
There was
the-
also a videotape at surveillance at the apartment where she lived.
And the neighborhood where she left the video, was that like a homeowner's camera, or was that a business or traffic?
It was a residential, personal video camera.
Detective, why the attempted murder charge in this?
Because of the injuries that she occurred, and by the advice of doctors, that the seriousness of the injuries.
You didn't have the DNA evidence conclusively until just yesterday, I believe, but how far back did you kind of think this is our guy, just waiting, pending the outcome of the DNA?
I would say the whole entire, 8-10 days, we were looking at Mr. Guzman, but we were also looking at other people.
Is it your belief that he intended to kill this girl?
I can't answer that right now, I'm sorry.
You charge him with attempted murder.
Yes, and that's under the advice of the DA's office, yes, sir.
Is it possible other people are involved in this, or you think he acted alone?
We're still investigating that.
Did the mother have any kind of beef with him? Did they say like he was a good guy or a bad guy? Did she have any clue that he would be it?
No, not at all. Not from the mother. She advertised on a bulletin board looking for someone to rent a room, and he answered that ad.
Was there any indication that at times in that 2 months that the children were left in his care?
He lived there at the residence, and the kids were with him at some points and times when he was at his house, in the bedroom, yes.
When
in
the
the
mother
room.
wasn't there?
Mom doesn't know for sure that there was a specific time that he was with the children. He was not a babysitter of the children.
Are there any outstanding cases in this area that you think that he could be possibly linked to as well? And that's kind of why you want to get more information other than just where he lives?
Well, that's just part of the job, and that's just part of the investigation, that we do a well-rounded investigation, so we'll check into everything.
Did
Yes.
the mom indicate at all, when he was a renter, did she know what he did for a living, or was he working at the time, back then?
I believe Mom said that she was under the impression that he worked at a factory, but she couldn't tell me where he worked.
You mentioned last week that you're gonna pay attention to Mom's side of this thing once this is all over. Is it to that point yet? And if so, what do you look at in terms of talking to Mom?
At this point, I'm still directing, looking at more evidence on this case, looking at Mr. Guzman, trying to identify where he lived, and that point. So that's where I'm at this investigation.
So he's in custody of immigration right now, will be transferred here soon?
No, sir, he's already been booked at Robert Presley Jail for the charges that were told you.
Did the results of the drug test come back to see if there was anything in her system?
I have not got the full results back yet, no.
Is there any other critical evidence aside from the DNA that you found?
There's a culmination of a lot of items that I don't really want to talk about right now.
Is there any evidence that you tried to do this previously, prior to the date?
We don't know that for sure. We're looking into all aspects of
Was
that.
a weapon involved in any way?
Not that I know of at this point, no.
Again, we would like to direct your attention to the photograph of the truck. If you'll notice, the things that are most outstanding about that vehicle are the logo Sport at the rear of the bed. It has a bed liner and rails, and also has a set of pretty distinctive wheels. At the time that we recovered the truck, it looks like the center cover for the left rear wheel is missing. Again, relatively distinctive vehicle, and I think in answer to some of the questions here, we don't know of other cases. This is a particularly brutal crime. We'd be very surprised, given what we know about sexual predators, that if this was his first time out, and so we want to make sure to get that photograph, those photographs of the vehicle and Mr. Rojas Guzman out. There may be some members of the public who do have information on prior crimes that have not been reported.
Chief, do you think that based on the level of this crime, the nature of this crime, the way it was done, do you think he was capable of doing others?
That would be a natural assumption. Again, it's a particularly brutal crime. The question was asked about why the attempt murder charge. It's altogether possible that this individual left the victim for dead. Her injuries were that severe. So that, while anything is possible, and this might have been his first time offending like this, our duty is to seek out any other crimes, and you can be assured that any witnesses, tipsters that come forward, we will listen to their information, and we'll continue to follow up on the scientific evidence that's already been recovered. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.